Technology has made our lives easier in a lot of ways, but it has also introduced more threats to our safety. Today, we're going to talk about how tech is facilitating new forms of gender-based violence.
Anuradha Dugal is the Executive Director of Women's Shelters Canada, and she's here today to tell us more about the tech-facilitated gender-based violence. Anuradha, thank you for being here and welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for the invitation. Can't wait to get into this discussion because we've talked a lot about gender-based violence on the show, but I want to know what exactly is tech-facilitated gender-based violence?
It's a great question. Thank you. So it's any kind of violence that is happening using devices or apps or things like on a computer you might be trying to do your banking or through home devices. So it's the kind of domestic violence, intimate partner violence, the abuse, the harassment, the threats, but happening through technology.
Can you give us some examples, like what does it most commonly look like?
So it often occurs at the same time as physical, emotional, or financial abuse. So it co-occurs, as we say, but it looks like threatening texts on your phone. It might be a way of trying to track your location. There's monitoring and surveillance. Something that is, sometimes somebody might say, what are you writing? Show me what you wrote on your phone. If it's constant and regular and about every single communication you have, that is tech-facilitated violence.
Okay, so this issue isn't new, but it is getting worse. So how are you finding that to be true?
So it's getting worse because technology is like permeating every level of our life now. So whereas before it might have been just through our texts or just on social media occasionally, now it can be in every single app we're using online, especially the apps that have like text options or have ways to send messages to somebody along with another, And when you think about it, you use maybe apps for finding out how your kids are doing in school, or checking your phone, your heating in your house, or making sure that your parents are doing okay wherever they're staying. So all of those apps can also be used to threaten and abuse and demean and control somebody else.
You know, this already sounds terrifying, but you have found that this is actually even another layer worse for people with disabilities.
Absolutely.
How so?
Well, women with disabilities experience much higher levels of violence than anyone else. So usually 6 times higher than your average person. And that's because they're already vulnerable. They're dependent on somebody for their care. They need help in many things. Many disabled people use devices to track their health, to make sure they're using things. And many have assistive technology at home, and so that can be used. An abuser might break it, they might remove it, they might change passwords so that they're no longer accessible, and all in a way to control somebody, to say, if you don't do what I say, if you've made me angry, if I'm going to use this as a way to get back at you.
I know, but we have to be honest, the technology is not the problem, it's the abuser. So how easy or difficult is it to hold someone accountable for their behavior?
That's an excellent point. The abuser should always be held accountable, and that's what we want. And the behavior exists outside of the technology usually. So many of these things are already criminal acts, right? Harassment, threats, a kind of any kind of control and monitoring, stalking. They're all criminal acts, but the police don't often respond, and some people don't want to go to the police, right? There's many communities who are just like, I don't trust the police. They're not going to help me, and so even when you do go to the police, they may minimize it. They may say, why do you think this is such a problem? Just change your phone. Just change your phone number. Just like it's on you to make the change, rather than on them to bring some kind of court order into play so that you can be safer using the technology that you use for your, find a job, find a house.
Are the app developers and the companies that own them, are they doing anything to protect people?
We've certainly, Women's Shelters Canada has written to some of our reports have highlighted how banking apps can be used to send threatening messages.
How so?
Well, when you make an e-transfer, you have an option to send a little message.
No way.
So abusers send demeaning, threatening, harmful messages with the e-transfer, even to the extent that they will choose to send many e-transfers, all for like 1 cent each time. So it costs them nothing, but they're using it to harass somebody again and again and again. So when this was brought to the attention of those companies, they have looked into how to block those messages, hide those messages, and still get the e-transfer. Because, of course, if you're a woman who's gone through a separation, you still need your child support stick.
Right.
Right?
Okay.
Yeah.
You can't just say, oh, it's okay, I'm not going to take that money. Exactly.
You need it.
You need it. And you're owed it. You deserve it. Your kids need that support.
Yeah, absolutely.
So on the Tech Safety Canada website, you actually have a digital breakup tool that walks people through some tips on how they can protect themselves from tech abuse. So can you share a few of those tips?
Yes, so the digital breakup tool is helpful for anybody who's going through a breakup because we should all be tech savvy when this is happening. So some of the first things to do is obviously put in two-factor authentication, where we all have people nagging us about that. You also have to think about your location settings and only use them when they're absolutely needed, because if somebody's connected to your app on location, they can find out where you are, and if you're being abused, you don't want that. Most devices have lots of info on security devices, how to change the privacy settings, and then also change your passwords. And if you're using any kind of home tech, the Google or Alexa, make sure that that's uncoupled from anybody who's maybe downloaded that app onto their phone, because they could be using it to wake you up at 2 a.m. in the morning, or turn your heating up to max and ramp up your hydro bill.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
All these are real cases that we've seen.
Wow.
Unbelievable. Well, you say that there is currently an online harms bill that is being considered by the federal government. So, you know, politically, we don't know where we are exactly federally, but what does this bill say or hope to do?
So the bill is focused really on changing online harms that happen in the public sphere, so on public comments, walls, posts, that sort of thing. What we'd like to see is that it goes into the private sphere so that those private DM messages can be reported and blocked and used as evidence. You know, we always say to people, if you've got this kind of threatening text happening to you, take screenshots of it. And the online harms bill should put into place protections so that tech companies are responsible also for protecting women from those sorts of things.
This has been a fascinating discussion, just learning so much. Anuradha, thank you so much for being here and for sharing all of this information.
Thank you.
Really interesting.
Okay. Hey, you, come a bit closer. We've got so many more must-see interviews, spicy debates, lifestyle tips, and pop culture moments. So subscribe to our channel by tapping the logo below and don't miss out.